But Georgia Southern will head to the Boot State this weekend, Wednesday, or rather, on the men's schedule. Thursday at ULM inside the Fant-Ewing Coliseum, 7:30 the tip-off from Monroe, Louisiana, and we are joined now by the voice of the ULM Warhawks for ULM women's basketball, and Mike Hammett. What's going on, buddy?
Hey guys, how are you doing?
I know you're getting ready for a coach's show, so we'll be brief.
Yeah, we're getting ready. It's just like before when you had Nick White on about a month ago. We're getting ready for Hawk Talk at a little restaurant here, Portico in Monroe. And in fact, there's your boy Nicholas right there. So yeah, we're all getting ready to go here. And this is actually, we came to the realization I'm going to be in Oxford, Mississippi next Monday, getting ready for a double midweek for baseball. So this is my last basketball Hawk Talk for the year. So excited to get that in and move on and get ready to go here.
I don't know. I was about to be pretty upset if you were about to say you weren't going to be in Monroe on Thursday.
No.
Oh, I'll be here. I'll be here. We got home baseball this weekend, so thankfully everything's looking good right now. How it works out for my schedule to have women's basketball and baseball both at home these 2 weekends. I mean, it's perfect. I love it and get a chance to call every game for both of my teams right now.
You look at this ULM team, and it's been a tough stretch of it for you guys. 4-22 on the season, 0-12 in Sun Belt play. Haven't won since December 8th. What has this last 2-3 months really been like for the squad?
It has been real tough. I mean, this is a group that they have battled injuries throughout the season. You go back to the preseason. Jada Anderson is one who hasn't played all year. She was going to be the starting point guard. She tore her ACL in the preseason, so she hasn't played at all. Diamond Brooks, who returned for her fifth year at center, played very well in the season opener at Grambling, looked like a different player. Tore her Achilles with 3 minutes left in that game, and so she was done for the season. So you're right there without your point guard, without your starting post. Kiera Brimsey, an all-conference selection before the season, second team. Tore her meniscus in the preseason. She's been battling through that, and so she hasn't quite been the same player all year, although she looked like it a little bit on Saturday against the Cajuns with 16 points for a season high for her, but it has just been a grind. I mean, and to be honest, it's a young team because you have all those COVID freshmen, so between the COVID freshmen and the true freshmen, it's 12 freshmen on this roster for ULM this year. And then just not a lot of veterans there. Garabeth Self battled injuries all last year. She was the Sun Belt Freshman of the Year 2 years ago, and she still has not regained that confidence, regained that bounce in her step, and maybe still be fighting some of the things that happened a year ago with her injuries that she tried to play through. And the one positive this year has been Kyron Whittington, though. I mean, she has been fantastic, player that I believe could start for anyone in the league, the way she plays. And they just have not had somebody to go with her. Kyron's averaging nearly 18 a game within conference play. She makes really tough plays look easy and is a big-time dynamic playmaker. But for the Warhawks, there hasn't been that second punch anywhere for them. And so that's kind of been the search here is who can step up, which of these freshmen can step up. And, for ULM, unfortunately, the big freshman class they brought in, they haven't panned out the way the coach had hoped for so far. Of course, they're still hoping to develop them, but they're trying to go the freshman route in building this program, which is awfully tough in this era of transfer portal where everybody else, they lose players, but they bring in some others from other D1 schools, and it makes it really difficult to build.
When you're winless in conference play, how has this group tried to stay positive?
I think if you were around this team, you would have no idea that they are winless in conference play. They're a very loose bunch. They have a lot of fun. Our last road trip, I was trying to hide outside of the view of the cameras as they were kind of doing a little dance video that they had a speaker going on the bus and they're dancing up the aisle of the bus. And I'm trying to lean out of the way because I don't need to be in on that. So they cut it up. They have some fun, but they also know what's going on too. I mean, they played very well in that last road game at Texas State, got after it and had a chance to beat the Bobcats and couldn't pull it off. But, they don't take it so seriously, I guess, as far as the losses are concerned. They know that they have a future that they can build toward and try to get better, but they'd love to win right now. But this group, they've stayed loose at least. So, hopefully that's something they can maintain and use it as some fuel this offseason to get better.
You talk about all the young players on this ULM team, and going through the roster today, it's player after player that's a freshman, but they're one of the top players out of the state of Louisiana, and it really seems like the state of Louisiana is what Coach Brooks Donald-Williams has been really focusing on in the recruiting.
Absolutely. They've added a few pieces here and there from Texas or Mississippi and Garabeth Self in her case, but it is always been a heavy Louisiana recruiting class for her. Of course, Coach grew up in Jennings, Louisiana, went out of state to play college basketball, went to Mississippi State, suffered a career-ending knee injury, and got into coaching there, and eventually worked her way back to the head coaching job at McNeese and did a fantastic job there with the Cowgirls and took that program to an unprecedented heights, but hasn't been able to quite replicate that success at ULM yet. But she knows this state. She knows a lot of high school coaches in the state. Her recruiting coordinator, Jessica Barber, was a former high school coach in the state. So, I mean, there's a lot of connections there, and they've been able to do a nice job. The rankings say they're doing a nice job with bringing in these freshmen, but it, again, hasn't quite worked out to that manner as they would have hoped so far for a variety of reasons. And right now, again, still looking for answers, and they're out recruiting tonight. Actually, I'm not even talking with Coach Williams tonight. I'm going to have Coach Christy Sides on with me tonight for our coaches show. She's one that's been awesome to have on the staff. She has WNBA coaching experience under her, and best friends with Coach Williams, and so she came here to just kind of help out, and has been phenomenal for this program, the way she breaks down opposing teams and everything. And so going to have fun talking to her tonight, but goodness, this group, a lot of Louisiana ties. That's what I think has kind of helped boost them in the state recruiting rankings. But again, still looking to take that to the next level and find that success on the floor.
You and I have talked about this staff off air a little bit with Brooks Donald-Williams in her third season. You've talked about Christy Sides and how much she has brought to this program. You also add another assistant this year in Jalen Johnson, who has come from the professional ranks as well. Having so much of the professional flair in the staff, what has that done for the program?
You know, it gives the girls something to look at as far as the experience that they've had to know that, boy, these coaches really do know what they're talking about. Jalen Johnson played for Coach Williams at McNeese, and so far this year, one of our big problems has been lack of a point guard at times. And Colin, you texted me about this earlier today, asking, about Chloe Wilbanks, who's the walk-on, that she started just one random game a couple of weeks ago and hasn't really played much anywhere else. And it's because they've been without Jada Anderson, like I mentioned, no Bree Sutton, like I mentioned, and that she was out for a stretch there. And then you had Grayson Williams, who was injured. So she was the only point guard available. And so Coach at that point told me, she's like, boy, I just wish I could throw a jersey on Jalen Johnson because she was her point guard at McNeese when they were rolling. And she's like, she still has it. She can still play a little bit, but it doesn't quite work like that. So, but it is great. I mean, have Coach Sides. I don't even know that these girls realize what they have in Coach Sides, somebody who spent so much time in the WNBA and internationally as an assistant. And she's told me she never wants to be a head coach. She certainly could be. She has that makeup, but she just doesn't want to deal with the day-to-day stuff that head coaches have to deal with, the media obligations and things like that. She just wants to coach the game, develop players, break down film, do all that, and she's phenomenal at it, obviously. I mean, she's been in the WNBA and whatnot doing that, and very successful there. So they've been a blessing to have around, and I hope these girls realize what they have, and having coaches like Coach Sides, Coach Johnson, that have played professionally, in the case of Coach Sides, coached professionally as well.
We talk about this team, again, winless in Sun Belt play. What's really on the table for this ULM team? Last two games against the Georgia schools, you've got them inside Fayette and Coliseum. What's really on the table for this team, and how do they look at it going into conference tournament next week?
I think they still look at it as Coach Williams even said last week on Hawk Talk. Everybody's 0-0 going the next week. And we've seen, outside of us in the Sun Belt anyway, a lot of, anybody can beat anybody on any given night. And they're just hoping to find a way to build a little confidence this week, take that next step as a program, find a way to notch a win. And really at this point, nobody's counting on them to win a game. There's no pressure on this group at all. Nobody's believing in them outside of that locker room. And so why not them? Why not go try to play your heart out and see what happens? And at the same time, you've also got to think, as these players, they're so young, you've got to show these coaches that you can do this at this level so that you can keep your spot, not have them go out and recruit somebody else to replace you. So I think there's still a lot on the line for these girls. But again, to look at it, to go 4-22 and you're 0-12 in the Sun Belt, I mean, it could be easy to get caught up in that, but I don't believe this group is caught up in that at all.
All right, real quick, give us a early season synopsis of ULM baseball.
This weekend was certainly frustrating, but at the same time, you don't overreact. I mean, to go 1-2 against Southern Illinois, Salukis won 40 games a year ago. I mean, that's a good team that came in here to Monroe and left a lot of men on base Saturday and Sunday, left 26 runners on base between Saturday and Sunday's games. And so even though they put up 9 yesterday, they probably should have had 15 or 16 and just couldn't get that clutch hit when they really needed it. They only, I think, 6 for 36 with runners in scoring position or something like that. So it's a lot of depth offensively, a lot of speed. Matt Collins says it's the fastest team he's ever coached. So that's something. And but pitching-wise, again, it's going to be the bullpen that's got to be the strength, because last year the starting rotation was a weakness, and it's pretty much the same starting rotation as last year, and only a year older now. So Cam Barlow was fantastic Friday night, 7 shutout innings, 11 strikeouts, a career high. He's got to learn to take that on the road, though. He had an ERA over 10 on the road last year and under 2 at home. So he's got to figure out how to take that out of Monroe. And you know what? If they can get it all figured out, it's a tough early schedule. Northwestern State tomorrow, Mizzou this weekend, Ole Miss next week for the midweeks, and then you can finally settle in after that. Just weather the storm early. We'll see what this team has when we get into the first couple of weeks of March.
I know you got to get over and get ready to have some Hawk talk and keep Nick White straight a little bit, but we'll
I know. I got to keep him in line. That's a full-time job in and of itself. So
looking forward to be able to catch up with you in a couple of days, and we'll get it going for Georgia Southern ULM. Appreciate the time, Mike.
Hey, sounds great, guys. Talk to you later.
Thanks, buddy.
Just a great dude in this league.
So happy.
Mike Hammett, the voice of ULM women's basketball, and going to be able to catch up with him. Haven't seen him in a little bit.